Hey there guys, Sloppy here, doing another Friday chat video because I hate views and this series does terribly, but I enjoy making it. I like chatting with you guys, I like the little conversations in the bottom of these videos. But hey, gotta like what you do, right? No, I like making these and I like reading the responses and having a little chat. And today I wanted to talk about something cool I got to do this week in no relation to YouTube at all. But I got to go to a electronics event, and I got to try out a bunch of the different VR devices. And I didn't get eye herpes because I brought my own little Lysol wipes. I brought Lysol wipes because I did not want eye herpes. It's a serious issue with VR at events, is people get eye herpes. I don't think it's actually herpes, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I got to go to this event. There was all kinds of TVs and other crap. But I only wanted to go to the VR. I didn't really care about the rest of the stuff, so I did that. I went and checked out the VR. I should have checked out VR sooner. Kirok has a Vive, and I should have went to his house multiple times by now to play with the Vive and raid his fridge. But alas, I did not. Too busy, man. Too much stuff going on. I put all my free time into this damn channel. It's ruining my life. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I want to talk about VR. I played a couple of games. I got to do a couple of the different other things. I don't think games are particularly the future of VR. I think VR will be decided outside of the gaming industry. So I tried a bunch of the other stuff as well as a couple games, but I got to try out the HTC Vive. I got to try out the PlayStation 1, the Samsung Gear, I think it's called, and the Google Angel Cloud, whatever the hell the Google one's called. I didn't get to try the Oculus Rift. There was quite a line for it. They had EVE Online, I think, going on it. And I didn't feel like waiting anymore. So I got to play all the other ones and just give you guys my impressions. Before we talk about the games and stuff, I think the biggest issue with it, and it's just really alpha issues with new technology. It's the same thing that happened with 3D printers, is just the cost of entry is enormous at the moment. And you know, we saw with 3D printers, they're actually, you can get them for like $400 now. A couple of years ago, they were multiple thousands, right? So I think that'll come down. I'm not going to harp on the cost too much, but I mean, the cost is high. And the other thing about the cost is you need some dedicated space to it. If you have the space, that's great. I mean, I live in a big city in an apartment, so adding an extra bedroom just for VR is like $700. So anyway, but the cost of entry, pretty high. It's an alpha technology. It'll come down, I'm sure. The other big issue, that's not really an issue, that's just how it is. The issue I had is that I didn't really play anything that was too amazing. I know Resident Evil 7 is supposed to be very good. But most of the stuff I played kind of sucked, and it cost a lot of money. I was looking at the games on Steam, and they're pretty pricey. And I'm like, really? You're trying to justify $20 for this? Ooh, that's not great. But again, I think that's more of an alpha thing. You know, the technology be relatively new. Game developers are still trying to adapt to it. So I think it'll be fine. The games will get better. I'm not too worried about that. My biggest issue actually with it is they're pretty uncomfortable, I thought. Again, I think that's an alpha complaint. It's pretty uncomfortable. I think that'll get better with time. But my neck started hurting, my head kind of hurt, I got a little nauseous, my eyes felt kind of sore. I just felt very like they need to polish it up. But those are pretty much all alpha complaints, so that's pretty cool. On the grand scale, I thought it was really cool. I got to try a few different experiences, and I thought it was really cool. The first thing I tried, because there was no line for it, surprisingly, was the PlayStation VR. They had Resident Evil 7 set up. And I don't like horror games. I don't like horror movies. I don't like horror games. They scare me too much. I get too scared. Yeah, putting it in VR makes it infinitely scarier. And I'll just come out and say I did not enjoy it. I did not have a good time playing Resident Evil 7. It was impressive. It was very immersive. I was very scared. But fuck that game, and fuck the people who were sitting there making sure you had it set up properly. Fuck them. It's too scary in VR. I don't like that. The next thing I checked out was the Vive. I checked out the Vive. I played 2 games on the Vive. I thought the Vive was interesting because the PlayStation 1, you basically sat down, and that was cool. The Vive had these little lighthouses. I'm sure you guys have seen. And it takes the optimal playing space that they had set up. It's a pretty significant amount of space, which is cool because it has some interesting mechanics to it. It also kind of sucks because you need a lot of space to set it up and whatnot. The first game I played was Room School Coaster, which was interesting. It reminded me of the Kinect games where you jump and everything. You know those Kinect games where you throw up your arms and everyone was like, this is so fun. And then everyone's like, fuck the Kinect. That never made sense to me. Like, but you like playing with it. You just don't like it? I don't get it. Anyway, the Room School Coaster, it was interesting. It made you, it really tried to take advantage of the space around it. It didn't feel like a very complete game, but it seemed more like it was trying to take advantage of the fact that you needed space anyway. So let's try and make something that uses the space. So it was cool. You had to jump side to side and duck, and it really did feel like a Kinect game. The only problem I had was like wearing a headset and jumping around felt kind of awkward to me. I'm sure that's more just if you wear it long enough jumping around, you'll be fine, right? The other thing I played on the Vive was called We Were Here. It's a game where you basically wander around like an abandoned castle and its area. It was cool, reminded me a bit of Myst. It's what I always imagined in VR. I always thought if I ever got VR, if VR ever became a thing, I think I'd be so caught up walking around the world as opposed to playing the game. You know, like if they put Fallout 4 in VR, which, is supposed to be happening, I'm pretty sure I'll spend the entire time just walking around being like, man, look at this place. I just want to wander. But that's just me. So that was kind of cool. We were here. It's an abandoned castle. It reminded me a lot of Myst. It's this cool world that's kind of got these eerie vibes and a little mystery, and you kind of go around. It was neat. I wasn't playing it too long, but it was cool. And then I got to the stuff. So those were the games that I tried. And then what interests me about VR is not the games. It's more the live events and the other things. So I did a couple of them. In the Samsung one, I actually got to use my own phone, which I thought was really cool. Like, it's a $100 headset, and you use your own phone. And I was like, this is cool. And I got to do this NBA thing, where basically they're going to be selling tickets, and you buy them in your VR package, and you get to sit at NBA games. So you look around, it's like you're watching the game from a front row seat. So you can look around, and the players are huge in front of you, and you can look to your left and right and see celebrities. I thought that was so cool. They just put down their little camera in the NBA game, and you get to enjoy a live NBA game like you're sitting in the front row. You could also switch seats. You could sit in the press box or in the nosebleeds. I was like, this is so cool. And then I got to see the Samsung camera that you can use to film 360 videos and stuff. It was really interesting. I thought Samsung had such a cool thing. And I think the live events, I know NBA is looking into it. I think the WWE already has it. But I was like, you can be at a live event in VR, and, you know, I think that's going to be so cool. I've heard Deadmau5 is going to do a whole sort of concert thing in VR. I think that's the future of VR. I think that's going to be so neat. But that was really cool, the NBA one I saw. And you buy tickets like it's a live event, but you get to go in VR. And also with the cost of things now, I think it's amazing. Like going to see an NHL game, if you're not in like Florida or something, if you're in a major market, it's, you know, $80 a seat. So if I can pay $15 and simulate the experience, I think that's amazing. And there's a lot of people I want to see in concert that, you know, it doesn't work out or whatnot. I think that's amazing. I really do. The other thing I got to do was an experience on the Google one, which I got to walk through well, not really walk through. It was sort of a tour where it walks for you. I think it was just a guy with a 360 camera, but he walked through a museum in Belgium or Bulgaria or something. I had all kinds of history and art, and it was kind of narrated, but you could look around, and you could pause if you wanted to stay in a specific area. It was almost like Google Street View, where he was walking, but you could sort of stop and look around, and I thought it was just incredible. And I think that's a really interesting thing, is, you know, being able to go places you would never go. You know, you can go through museums or, you know, walk through the Opera Hall, you know, the Mannheim Concert Center, or, you know, the Opera Hall in Paris, and do these tours in these places you would never, ever go, right? Or, you know, places that you can't even get into. Like imagine if they went through like the vault at the Louvre. I read something like 70% of what the Louvre actually owns, they don't even have room to display. So imagine going through that or something, or the Paris catacombs, for example. I don't know why I'm thinking France so much, but just stuff that, I mean, it's simple enough to do. You got a guy to walk through with a camera, right? And I think that's amazing. I think you could get a lot of experiences that way. Also, great teaching tool, walk through a battleground and, put the kids in VR and they'll learn so much history and whatnot. I think it's really unbelievable. I think VR education-wise is going to be revolutionary. The other thing that I thought was cool, I know this is getting a bit long. The other thing I saw that was really cool was this company who was doing anatomy. So human anatomy, you could zoom in and out on the body. You would highlight muscles. You could highlight tendons. You could go through the skin. I thought that was incredible. It was just such a cool experience. And I'm not really interested in medicine, but there's a lot of people in my life who are. So I thought, you know what, that's amazing. Again, I think the future of VR is not in video games. I think it's in other stuff. Pornhub did have a booth. I didn't go to it. I sort of ran out of time. That was one thing I did want to check out was the VR porn. I've heard it's a little awkward, but a little awesome. I don't know. I mean, porn's going to drive new technology anyway, but I think the education side of VR is definitely where it's going. Anyway, those were my experiences and thoughts with VR for the first sort of real time. It was pretty amazing. It was cool. It's a very amazing technology, I think. It just needs to continue to improve, and the cost will come down with later versions as long as you can get the money now, which it seems like they're going to with Facebook and Valve and everything. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and this type of video. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you guys have tried VR, what you've tried with VR. I've talked a bit with Kirok about it back when he first got it. He had some videos that I liked watching. There's some crazy games. But yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about anything I said or just VR in general in the comments. We can have a chat in the comment section. And subscribe for more stuff. I don't make these types of videos a ton, but there's definitely there's a video every day. I've been very consistent, so proud of that. Anyway, yeah. Ciao.